Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Throws. Voice is a little shot right now. I don't really know what's happened in the 48 hours since I filmed my NCAA's predictions video in the car on Tuesday. I was pretty fine then. It's now Thursday morning and I sound like this. Struggling through it in the mix zone. We're really battling out there. But this isn't going to hold me back from telling you guys about the crazy throws we've seen this week. And I guess in a way, I'm kind of keeping it to yesterday afternoon because obviously it's Thursday now. Yesterday we had some crazy throws on day one of NCAAs. That's coming in an NCAA's recap video at the end of the week. And then also, as I'm speaking right now, the Oslo Diamond League is going on where there's a really good women's jav competition. That'll be in next week's video as well, along with a very exciting Stockholm Diamond League that's going to be coming up later this weekend. So there's a lot of good throws going on right now. For this week, it's another one where there isn't necessarily a ton of there were no 72-meter throws in the men's discus, so this video isn't even really worth making because that means the week was pretty terrible. But no, it was still a good week of throws, some good performances out of a lot of people, including one barrier that was finally broken this year, which we'll get into right about now. All right, so we're going to start with the 22-meter barrier finally being cleared for the first time. But we kind of need a bit of a preamble into that one. So we're going to start looking at the Rome Diamond League, where there was a men's shot put competition, and Tom Walsh takes the win. He goes 21.89 right off the bat, round one, season's best for him. And then just nobody can match that the rest of the way. So he ends up taking a pretty comfortable win there. Top to bottom, this was a really good competition, where you see, obviously, Tom won at 21.89. But then you have the top 6 guys over 21.56, top 8 over 21.31. Peyton, Otterdal, Joe Kovacs, and Trip Pippery were separated by 3 centimeters in 4.56. And then I think Zane Weir took second on his home turf. And it was Rajinder Campbell taking third. So really strong marks for them. But it was the 7th place finisher, Leonardo Fabbri, who threw 21.35 in Rome. He comes out 2 days later at a meet in Lucca, Italy, and he goes 22.07 in, I think, round 4, and then 22.31 in round 5. Finally, on June 8th, we had our first 22-meter thrower of the year. And I was like, it's taken a really long time to get to this point. We had a couple Diamond Leagues go down, no 22-meter throws. A couple meets in the European circuit, no 22-meter throws. The entire indoor season with a World Indoor Championships, no 22-meter throws. And I was like, this is weird. And so I went back and looked through, and the last year where we had our first 22-meter throw this late was, I think it was 2013. And that year, there were only 4 22-meter throws in the entire world, or at least 22-meter performances in the entire world that whole year. And so when you look at just, the level of shot put that we've seen the last couple years, where 22 has become, such a normality. I can't think of, before this year, a major competition, like a Diamond League or some bigger meet on the European circuit, with those being won in 21-something is a rarity. And so that being, the status quo for this year up until, I guess, June 8th is crazy. And I think it's not necessarily that surprising for the outdoor season, just given, obviously Ryan Krauser hasn't thrown yet. So that's a, guaranteed 22-meter throw kind of out the window right now. But then, with how late Worlds are this year, it makes sense these guys are taking a little bit of time, kind of ramping up into these bigger throws. But the fact that nobody threw 22 in the indoor season was honestly really shocking to me, especially the way just Leo ended last year. Like, he competed throughout the entire indoor season. Um, did he go to Worlds? I know he didn't make the final at Euro indoors. I forget if he went to Worlds or not. Um, but yeah, it's exciting to see that. It'll be interesting to see if that's kind of like the seal is broken now, and if that's just like the thing that people needed to like, and like he didn't just like if he would have ended that 22:07, like okay, he just broke 22, like 22:31. That's pretty far. Um, so yeah, I don't know what to make now of the like last week I said I think Peyton's the favorite, or maybe 2 weeks ago. Um, but now like I don't know because like in looking at the totality of the season, I do still think Peyton's looked a little better. But obviously, Leo has shown he's back in 22-meter shape, which is something Peyton hasn't necessarily been able to do yet, aside from the WSPS, I guess. So it's definitely interesting and more question marks, maybe an answer or two, but I think more question marks into kind of the global shot put landscape. But in that meet in Italy, you also had Trip Pippery go 21.96, which for Trip, that's his first legal PB. Because obviously he threw over 22 meters at the first WSPS at Drake. But that's his first legal PB since February 6th of 2021, where he threw 21.74 indoors. So this is 4+ years for Trip, and now he throws a 22-centimeter PB. He's getting closer to that 22-meter mark in a legitimate competition, and that's exciting to see. And now like the global shot put scene is one thing, but like the U.S. shot put scene is another thing, because obviously you have Ryan has the bye as the world champion, but then for those 3 spots like Peyton, Tripp, Joe, Roger, Josh Hawatunde's been throwing pretty well. Jason Swarens could be in the mix, maybe. We'll see what Tarek does this summer coming off. Okay, I'm not going to get sucked into NCAA's talk. That's saved for the end of the week. But I mean, there's so many guys in the U.S. right now, and where it felt like in the past, like you could tell. Like last year, I think it was pretty clear that it was going to be Joe, Peyton, and Ryan. Even before Ryan had opened at trials, it's like it's Ryan Krauser. Like he's gonna make the Olympics. But it felt pretty clear last year. This year, it does not feel that clear because there's just been so many guys that have been throwing well, and it's another situation like I've talked about with German discus throwing and American women's hammer. Like, it's going to be exciting to watch the U.S. champs, but also a little heartbreaking in some sense. In that Rome Diamond League, we also had a women's discus competition, which, surprise, surprise, was won by Valerie Allman. She went 69-21, but it wasn't looking pretty for her early on. Heading into the final 3 throws, Val was sitting in 5th, I believe, at like 63-20. Because she had 2 fouls at her first 3 throws. And so I was looking up. I was going on Tila Stapaya. I was looking at the stats. I'm like, all right, what's Val's win streak at right now? It's in danger. And then she comes out, and I think it was round 4 she moved into the lead with 66-66, I think. And then I think round 5 she went 69-21. I kind of wrapped that up. Extended the win streak to 23 consecutive finals, I believe. She hasn't lost since 2023 Worlds. She's ridiculous. Jaime Perez, is similar situation for her, where the first couple rounds didn't go that well, but she locks in on her final 3 throws, ends up throwing 66-63 for second. But women's disc right now, the silver and bronze in Tokyo looks like I can't make a single good guess for who's going to end up there. Because obviously, Loggy had a really good start to her season, throwing 70 in Ramona. But then the Diamond Leagues haven't necessarily been going her way. I think she finished 8th here in Rome. Sandra Okasevich has looked good, but Bin Feng had kind of an off day here in Rome as well. Jorinda Van Klinken's been kind of dialed in. We'll see a really good battle between Alita Van Dalen and Jaden Ulrich here at NCAAs on Saturday. So we'll see if one of them can kind of. I mean, they've both thrown. Jaden's obviously thrown 69 in Ramona, 66 outside of Ramona. Alita's thrown 65 like 4 times this year. So we'll see if one of them can do something exciting in this stadium with this kind of pressure on them to kind of insert their names into the conversation. But yeah, I mean, it just feels like it's tough to say at Worlds because someone's going to find a way to throw 69 for the first time ever and beat Val, I think. That seems to be the trend, but no, we're bucketed this year. I think Val's going to get her gold. But it really feels like it's going to be a matter of just who has the best day. And like there's enough women where it feels like someone can't have a bad day and land on the podium. Like, I think it's going to take at least 66.50 to podium, and it'll just be all right. Who can bring it when we get inside the stadium that day? So it'll be a fun one to watch. Moving over to the men's discus now, there's a really, really exciting competition out in Hengelo in the Netherlands where you had Christian Che versus Maddie Denny versus a lot of the top guys, plus Roger Stona's season opener. That's exciting to see. Unsurprisingly, it's Christian Che that comes out on top. He goes 69-21 only. Like, he's slacking really hard. He should kind of be embarrassed by that. And for Christian, like, his last 2.5 weeks, he's thrown 72-34, 72-12, 69-30, 72-36, 69-21. That's nuts. Denny finished second here, 67-64. You know, he got the win in Doha. Looked really good. He hasn't looked as insane or like dominant or whatever since they've hit the European circuit. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how his season continues to develop. But for Christian, like he's just on one right now. Like we've probably never seen. And, you know, maybe if Miklas wasn't competing once every 2 weeks right now, maybe he'd be kind of in that same role. You know, we'll see what he does on Friday night against Ralford here in Hayward. But, yeah, just the things that Christian has done that not even the last month. I think his first 72-meter throw was May 24th. So from May 24th to June 12th, which is when I'm recording this, like it's been a pretty good run of form for Christian Che, you could say. And then Roger Stona, he finishes third here with his opener, 67-19. And, you know, last year he went to Ramona for his opener and threw 69. But then when you look at all of his competitions between Ramona and the Olympics last year, this 67-19 is better than all of them. So if I'm Roger, I'm very happy with how that opener shook out. And now, you know, he's got some Diamond Leagues coming up to kind of continue rounding into form and testing himself against the best in the world. So I think this was a good kind of opening statement for Roger, just that last year was not a fluke, and he's here and he is a legitimate contender with some of the best discus throwers in history. Sticking around in Hengelo, we're going to talk about women's shot now, because Chase Jackson had maybe the most impressive performance of the week, because on June 7th, she throws 20.03 at a meet in Taipei. And then in June 9th, she throws 20.62 in Hengelo. And she posted about it, and she basically just said she was, I think it was 30 hours of travel leading up to that competition in Hengelo. And she comes out and throws, I mean, let me think. So it's 20.76 for her American record. And then I think 26, I think this is her third or fourth best mark ever off of that kind of travel. And she came out just first round, blasted it. Wasn't quite able to match it the rest of the way, but I think she did land another one over 20 and then had a couple like 1970s or something. But yeah, for Chase, like she is just on one. Like since the start of the outdoor season, she's had one competition under 20 meters. This is including the indoor season. It's the most times we've ever seen her throw 20 meters in 1 year. 8, which I think the previous best was, or no, I think it's tied. Because I think she threw 8 times over 20 meters in 2022 as well. But it's the middle of June. So yeah, we've never seen her this good. And it's just super exciting, especially like this throw in these circumstances. Like 2062 is a big mark. Like 2021 could be in the cards. Hot take, I know. Nobody's ever said that Chase Jackson can throw 21 meters before. But yeah, she's just like, it feels like she's just raised her baseline to a spot it's never been at. And when that comes, the high end kind of, you figure, will go along with it. So it'll be exciting to see what she can pull out as the season develops. Jessica Schilder finished second in Hengelo in 2016. That was her first competition in about a month since the Diamond Leagues in China. And then Maggie Ewan was third at 1948. And Sarah Mitten also has not competed, I believe, since the Shanghai Diamond League. Like, she's healthy. There's a bee flying around me right now. I don't know if you guys can see that. She's healthy. She's been, training, keeping up with her Instagram. So it's just kind of interesting seeing how her and Chase, who are like the two best in the world. I know the medals didn't necessarily reflect that in Paris this year, but I think it's pretty clear, or last year, but I think it's pretty clear at their best, they're the best in the world. And so it's interesting seeing kind of how their seasons are differing. Because I think Chase has competed like 6 times in the last month, thrown over 20 in nearly all of them, is building great momentum. Whereas at least from a competitive perspective, Sarah Mitten's kind of just sitting behind a little bit right now, biding her time, seeing what happens. So I don't know. That's just something I've been thinking about. And like I'm not like doubting Sarah. Like I'm sure if she was in these competitions, she could be throwing really well too. It's just kind of interesting seeing how they're choosing to go about their respective seasons. Let's talk about some women's hammer now, because Brooke Andersen threw 79 meters again. She went 79.24 at the same meet in Lucca, Italy, where Leo Fabbri threw 22.31. It's her second time over 79 this year. It's the 6th time, I believe, in her career. Ooh, she's catching up to Anita Vladarchik there. Yeah, this is her best throw ever outside of U.S. soil. It's a really good response to kind of a crappy competition for her in Bergen, where she finished 3rd and threw like 72 something. So yeah, I mean, Brooke is, if she pulls it together, like, she is the best hammer thrower in the world. It's just a matter of if she can reflect that when it matters most, which, I mean, after 2 years, it's like, all right. I've been getting a lot of soccer TikToks recently, and there's that one soccer clip where they're interviewing a manager, and it's like, 17 games now. It can't go on like this, can it? And then the manager's like, it can. So I'm just sitting here like, Brooke Andersen and her global championship trials, like, it can't go on like this, can it? So she's doing everything she has to do to instill confidence in herself and her team and put fear in the hearts of her competitors. It'll just be a matter of what happens. I mean, U.S. champs is a bit of a hurdle, given just how good women's hammer throwing in the U.S. is. And obviously, if she makes it to Worlds, like, Cameron Rogers is there waiting for her. And you know who else could be there waiting for her? Is Zhao Ji, the Olympic bronze medalist from China, only 22 years old. But she threw 76.60 in Germany this week and 75.40 at a meet in Czechia. So she's been really, really consistent this year. 76.60 is a big PB for her. And she's just been throwing like lights out every time out. And, if the women who could theoretically make the podium, so Cameron, and then like take your pick of any of the American women. Like, if they're throwing at their best, 76-60 might not podium. But if something happens, like we saw in Paris, like Zhao is putting herself in a really good position to once again be in podium contention. Another name thrown into the pot of podium contention this week was Krista Turvo of Finland. She threw a 2.3 meter PB at a meet in Finland going 77-14. And like she's 27 and just had this massive breakthrough performance. And she's been solid on the world stage before. She was 6th last year, throwing like 73 something. And she was 10th in Eugene 2 years ago, or 3 years ago at this point. Wow. That is weird that Eugene was 3 years ago. That doesn't feel right. But like she's been good. She has a global experience. And we'll see if this 77-meter mark is just a flash in the pan or a sign of more consistent, better things to come of her really like reaching a new level. But if she is, like, I mean, Finland already has another 77-meter throw in Silja Kosonen. So are the Finns coming for the Americans in the women's hammer throw? We shall see. Final note on women's hammer. Anita Vladarchuk, 71-51. Season's best at that meet in Taipei that Chase Jackson threw at. She's never gonna go away, and that makes me really happy because I don't want her to go away has a negative connotation. But I mean, she finished 4th in Paris last year. She's a little bit behind the pace of where she was at this point in 2024, because last year around this same time she was throwing, I think, a shade under 73 to finish runner-up at Euros. But like I don't think, she has a longer run up to Worlds this year than she did for the Olympics last year. So she's like at her age or her experience, she can take more time, build into her season more sustainably, a little bit slower, and then make sure she's peaking at the exact right moment when we get to Tokyo. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what Anita Vladarchuk has in store. And she's been getting better and better each one of her 3 meets so far this year. Couple quick notes here because we got some men's hammer to talk about, and then a little note on javelin. Kind of a low week for javelin, men's and women's. For women, there's only one woman in the world that broke 60 meters last week. They obviously have a Diamond League going on right now, so that it will not be the case for next week's edition of This Week in Throws. But yeah, so for the hammer, you had Merlin Hummel at a meet in Germany go 81-23, about a month after he broke 80 for the first time. I believe that was in Halle, so less than a month, actually. And yeah, this guy, like, he made the Olympic final last year, was 4th at Euros, and now he's taken a step to another level. But it is kind of interesting because it's like, oh, wow, like this like breakout season for Merlin Hummel, like taking a big step forward, blah, blah, blah. And he is 3 months older than Ethan Katzberg, who Ethan threw 80-14 to win in Oslo in a like pre-Diamond League program competition yesterday. So solid mark for Ethan. He's just kind of still consistently throwing 80 meters time and time again. He's such a beast. But for Merlin, like, this is an exciting mark and just building the intrigue of so many guys this year that are throwing really, really well. This last week alone, we had 8 guys throw 78 meters, including some big, I believe, season's best for Thomas Bardal, Pavel Fidek, little NCAA's hit, but Costas Altos threw a 78 for the first time. So that was exciting. That was really fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, it's a good time for the men's hammer. And Preet Majithia, who works with us at Sidious Mag, he's at Oslo at the Diamond Leagues. He'll be, I believe, in Stockholm as well. And he actually was able to catch up with Ethan after his competition yesterday for a little bit on just how he feels that, like, his 2024 season. You know what? I'm not going to give the preamble. I'm going to let Preet take it away.
Already this year, there are sort of another 3 guys over 81, another couple of guys 80 high. It's a really high standard in the hammer at the moment. Is that do you feel that's kind of something that sort of happened after you kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit with your 84-meter throws last year?
Yeah, I mean, people are motivated. They're motivated to improve their marks, and now that there's 6 guys over 80 meters, it's a very competitive field, and everyone knows that. So, it's going to take. I think it's going to take more this year to be on that podium, and people realize that. So it's definitely motivating people to push for it further and harder. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Preet. Good question. Good answer, Ethan. Good content. All right, our one Jav note of the week is that Brazil's Luis Mauricio da Silva threw 85.29, and he threw, I think it was in Kipkano, where he threw like 86 something, which was a pretty significant PB Brazilian record. 85.29 is another solid mark for him, but it's like, yeah, these are really good marks, but with the level of men's javelin where we're at right now, where like Arshad Nadeem, Neeraj Chopra, I mean, obviously it took 88 high, 89 to podium last year in Paris, like 86 whatever he threw in Kip Kano and that 85.29 is really, really good. But it's going to be interesting to see how much that would be kind of moving the needle for podium contention when Tokyo rolls around this year. All right, well, that's all we've got for this week in throws. Like I said, good week. Not a super busy week, though. But coming up, we're going to have NCAA's recap and reflecting on how terrible my predictions were. Coming up probably Sunday or Monday. Then we're going to have this week in throws, and we're grinding. It's a good time to be a throws fan. As I always say, it's a good time to be a throws fan. Mikolas Alekna throws tomorrow for me. I get to see him in person, and that's always a treat. So I'm a happy guy right now, even if I can't really talk. That is all I've got for you guys. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please follow the Instagram at Paulie Throws, the Twitter at PHoffMahoney. Please follow on Spotify as well. And I will see you guys next time.